Camera. Commissioners, the next item is item number 5, application for a certificate of appropriateness in the Borough of Manhattan, docket number 140294, block 228, lot 20, 325-329 West Broadway, aka 23-25 Worcester Street, Soho, Cast Iron Historic District. An early 19th century building altered in 1894, an early 19th century building altered circa 1920-1930, a warehouse built circa 1960, and a garage building built in 1968. Application is to amend Certificate of Appropriateness 074623 and 144750 for the construction of a new building at 325-329 West Broadway and the construction of a rooftop and rear yard additions at 23-25 Worcester Street. This is zoned M1-5A, and this was last presented on March 11th, 2014.
Staff. The application is to amend and approve Certificate of Appropriateness issued in 2013, approving modifications to the design of a new building at 325-329 West Broadway, and modifications to rooftop additions at 23 and 25 Worcester Street within the Soho Cast Iron Historic District, originally approved by Certificate of Appropriateness issued in 2007. The original C of A was issued in conjunction with modification of use and bulk. You last reviewed this proposal on March 11th of this year. At that meeting, the proposal consisted of changes to the footprint and massing of the rooftop penthouse and design and placement of the lot line windows at 325 West Broadway, and changes to the rooftop addition at 23 and 25 Worcester Street, as well as infill and masonry openings. The Commission expressed concerns about the visibility of the rooftop work at 23 and 25 Worcester Street, as well as the materials and details proposed at the infill at 23 and 25 Worcester. At 325 West Broadway, the Commission's concerns were in regards to the details of the lot line windows, as well as the massing of the proposed penthouse at 325 West Broadway. The applicants have reviewed the Commission's comments and have revised their proposal in the following way. First, with regard to the proposed rooftop penthouse and bulkhead at the historic buildings at 23 and 25 Worcester Street, the bulkhead is now proposed to be shifted back to be in line with the setback approved in the public meeting in June of 2013. And here are the visual studies of the penthouse work at that point. However, the footprint of the penthouse was enlarged from the original C of A of 2007 and was not presented at the public meeting in June 2013. And based on this enlargement of the penthouse, there is a new point of visibility from a public thoroughfare, as you can see in this portion right here, view D, up on Grand Street. So in the plan, you can see that the proposed penthouse has come forward approximately 9 feet from what was approved in 2007. And they are maintaining that footprint here in this proposal.
But moving it back.
I'm sorry?
But moving it back.
They're moving it forward. This is what was approved in 2007. And they're moving the setback of the penthouse forward 9 feet. And this was not presented in 2013. And neither was this view here, where you can see more of it.
So it's making it more visible.
It's making it more visible from this point here on Grand Street. Okay. Second, with regard to the facades of the historic buildings at 23 and 25 Worcester Street, the proposal only includes 4 changes to the facades from what was approved in the original C of A of 2007. Namely, at 23 Worcester Street, we are eliminating the proposed steps at the primary entrance to accommodate barrier-free access, installing a wood and paneled and glazing door, and installed multi-light windows at this infill right here instead of a door. They've revised the design of the entrance infill from a primarily glazed and modern design to a more traditional design, which is what you saw in March. This is the more traditional wood and glazed panel door here. The third proposed change at 23 Worcester Street includes installing multi-light steel windows instead of the approved aluminum windows throughout the facade. Finally, at 25 Worcester Street, the only change proposed from the original approval from 2007 includes the installation of metal grills and sills over mechanical louvers at the openings of the basement level. All of the previously proposed changes from the March public meeting have been eliminated. Third, with regard to 325 West Broadway, the applicants have added additional information about the design and the materials and the visibility of the changes, and the applicants and architects are here to discuss the whole proposal in detail.
Okay, we'll open the hearing for that purpose, and motion in a second, and limit yourself to what you wish to elaborate on based on what was just said.
Peter Guthrie with DDG. Good evening, good afternoon.
Good evening. Yeah, well, I mean, you live in Soho, so wherever you live, but.
Where stories and rain. Let's see, why don't we go back, and I'll run quickly through. Adam did a great job explaining
Yeah.
the basic points, and I'll just quickly outline everything she said. I have nothing major to add. Of
Okay.
course, the point of debate I'll go right to quickly, which is just a history, and staff has been extremely patient with our lack of understanding with regard to the 74-711 process, and so we appreciate their help guiding us. And it's been difficult for us to sort of understand what we inherited and what we didn't actually maybe adequately explain in terms of our previous proposals. What we inherited when we purchased the property was these two images, and as you see, it was minimally visible looking north from Worcester, and from the intersection of Grand, it was also minimally visible. When we presented in 2013, we inherited a rendering from KPF for this building that appeared higher in our rendering, and there was no visibility from the front, no visibility from this side, and there was minimal visibility here. As we mocked up twice, but this is the latest mock-up in March, and staff has been out to see it. Remains invisible from the front, remains invisible from the looking north, which is a reduction in visibility. And then looking from Grand, there is visibility, minimal visibility. There is, and I guess the point of debate, or the thing to just cut to the chase and discuss, is upon further review, walking on Grand Street with staff, it was revealed that as you move to the east along Grand Street, you do see increased visibility, and there is a moment in time, which is D, photograph D, where you do see more of the bulkhead, and that we've attempted to render that maybe clearer in your handouts. Okay. You will see, view D will have increased visibility. It's the one moment in time where that visibility is increased. The bulk of what you're seeing at that moment is the bulkhead and a railing. And I'll,
I think it is.
again, it's the railing here and the bulkhead.
Sorry, can you go back to image 10? So,
Sorry.
so the image on the far left, view D,
Yes.
so what we're seeing there is the bulkhead only in the
No,
middle?
you're
we're
seeing
the penthouse.
the increased infill,
Yeah.
you're seeing the railing, and you're seeing the bulkhead. So, what we thought was an initial request to deal with our barrier-free entry and a structural condition where we didn't want our elevator right in the demising wall between the two buildings. We needed to move it away from that.
Yeah.
wanted to move away from that. Soon became an issue, a greater issue about visibility. So we won't take credit for the initial instinct to move the bulkhead to the south, but by virtue of moving it to the south, we have made it less visible from what we have discovered here. So the bulkhead is certainly reducing any visibility that was previously approved. The infill, which is here, it was presented, not properly presented, I think is, we did have this drawing in 2013, and we did have renderings that reflected this infill. We did not call proper attention to it, I think is what we've learned. So we're all coming clean and saying clearly what you see. It was never any, there was nothing changed from the approved to what was presented in 2013 to what we're presenting now. That's Worcester.
Can I ask you to go back to the picture on 10 again?
Yes.
It's not clear to me whether that's the bulkhead over here.
Yes.
Is that your bulkhead?
No, that's,
Oh, so where is your bulkhead in that picture?
Where my dot is the bulkhead. Just under it is the penthouse.
So you can't see the bulkhead.
So you can't
You
see.
hold
Bulkhead's blocked by the railing?
Yeah, go to 7, this is 7 of lower of that sheet. Picture.
Because that's the big question, and it's not clear.
This is the mock-up. So this line is the top of the railing
For the penthouse.
for the penthouse, exactly. And then the bulkhead is just peeking up right there.
So you can't see it that much in 10.
no, but in 10 you see.
So that's the rendering.
Front part of
Rendering
the
sort of,
bulkhead step, or the penthouse steps forward a bit, doesn't it?
it does, you can't see it in this image. The only time that you see it is in that one moment in time on that image D. So in all these views,
Oh, so this is A and this is
yeah.
So go
So
to
then
D.
go to D again, that's page 10, right?
Yes.
So
So
it-
D, there's this one moment where here's the mock-up, and here is the rendered view of it, where you do see the corner of the infill of the penthouse, and you see the railing just as you saw it, and you see a touch of the bulkhead behind the railing.
And
Yeah.
if you pulled it back to somewhere in the direction of where it was originally approved, you wouldn't see it, correct?
I maintain that you will see it, because you'll see the massing of, this view was never presented in 2007. Had we presented this, or had that been presented in 2007, the original massing would have been visible. Had we presented this view in 2013, it would have been visible. But if we pull back, you still see mass just further back. So I get the idea of making it as minimally visible, and our contention is that if we judge the merit of our request based on this image, I ask you just to consider this image, which was approved, as minimally visible. I also ask you just to consider the context of the 1930s building roofscape, which did have bulkheads. And even in 1940, the tax lot photo shows a bulkhead, which was recommended to be removed. We've inherited that, and we agree with that. But it's not out of character to have some minimally visible roofscape bulkhead on a 1930s, building.
But how does that fit in with the 74-711? This is a use change, right? So where,
We
you know,
believe that we're staying consistent with everything that was originally presented. That's our,
so the argument is that because that was the view, maybe that was never shown in 2007, then that should be,
this was shown.
that
This
view was shown?
and approved, and as noted, minimally visible was acceptable, so,
What is it that's visible, and what are we looking at? What are we looking at?
here
Yeah.
you're looking at
What is
infill,
that?
you're looking at the penthouse and the bulkhead above. So,
So that was new,
that was in 2007. This
Yeah,
is what
and
we
it was
inherited.
approved. It was visible because there was no building there, and it was approved.
But what was the
Yeah.
original bulkhead, of the building? Like, it's replacing an existing bulkhead, right? So,
There are multiple alterations to it. So in the 1820s, there was a pitched roof on this building, then in 1894, we we don't know the exact date. They enlarged the building, the 25 Worcester, and I don't know the specifics of the roofscape of that building, and, but in,
No, but the existing, what's existing today?
existing today.
Yeah,
Right there.
in terms of the bulkhead.
Oh, I'm sorry, right there.
Oh, it's at the front.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe that's the discussion. That you're moving
So
the bulkhead
the
back.
conditions report suggested that we remove this bulkhead, or the original applicant removed this bulkhead, and that the removal of that bulkhead and pushing any kind of visibility to the back was appropriate.
Mm.
Good.
And how far is that building to the right now that's under construction?
How far is it?
How far along is it?
How far, it's in these,
Oh, so that's it?
yeah, you can
That's
see it up
actual.
there.
Oh, I
You
see.
know, we have been advised not to make any representations as to what they are doing. I will say that what we have seen from them is a cornice that does project out 10, 12 inches, 14 inches, something like that. It's minor, but it does come out into the street, reducing some visibility. I will also point out that that's going to be a roof terrace, and they will have plantings there. We're told that there will be trees, but we didn't represent that to obscure anything.
But if it were another foot or so back, pushed back, could you live with that? And you couldn't, then you wouldn't, be really minimal or nothing. Is that not possible to go back?
Sure
It's
it
always
is.
possible. It's always
Okay. And are you finished? Almost? Okay,
I am, if you guys.
fine. Other further questions? Yeah. And then we'll go on to a discussion, please.
No questions about 325?
Let's go back to.
If you want me to run through anything on
Oh,
325.
yeah, what did we
let me
do
know.
with the windows finally? I forget what happened. The side windows.
So the change was,
Sorry, I'm clicking quickly to get
Okay.
to the detailed drawing. So the change was before approved, 2013 proposed. And while it looks like more windows, it's the same amount of light. What we could have proposed tiny slots. We thought it more consistent to keep the same type of opening and then just do the slot of glass. And this is on the south facade, approved, proposed. And the detailing is, we have two types. We have a type A and a type B. Type A is shown in section here where the paneling is slightly inset and then there's a glass slot. What's driving this is the interior. We feel that that's consistent with lot line conditions that ultimately result in a bit of an ad hoc arrangement. So we feel that we're staying consistent with the original idea, and we felt it was important to preserve the opening just for simplicity's sake on that facade. So there's a bit of, more complexity here, some more cost and more interest for the purposes of gaining an architectural moment inside.
Okay,
I
Marjorie.
have just a technical, we saw this a month ago. What happened to the comments that were made and how are they?
The comments that were made last time had a lot to do with the fiber cement material that was being used as the infill panel, and the material is now going to match the side wall that was previously approved. It is also a synthetic materials, but it's what was previously approved in 2013.
These are samples, if anybody would like to see them. They're from Belgium. They're cementitious. They're fiber cement board, and they're two different colors. So the inset color is meant to is the darker, slightly darker, and again to keep that recessed area in shadow. And we like the play of these two. It's consistent with the
Sorry,
slate.
which recessed area in shadow?
Right here. So in type A, this section would be the slightly darker fiber
Oh,
cement.
this is the blind windows again. Oh, so you're still doing the blind windows, okay.
It's driven from inside, and we're holding on to that shape as just a better, rather than introducing a different window type, we felt that we could get both for us.
But the
And-
sliver is what, like 5 inches?
Yeah, it's not much.
And how do you,
What do we got here? A foot.
And how do you finish the edge of that little piece of stuff so that, you know?
Right here, there's another piece of stuff, piece of fiber cement. And waterproofing, I mean, it's a Wrap Pro, which is a breathable membrane that wraps right around here. Then we use Vicor, which is another, but what you see is the same material, the black, I'm trying to point, black material.
So that's like a little channel?
There's a channel to support it, and then what you see is the fiber cement jam.
But
So-
the little, it's very thin material, that's the thickness of the material?
Yeah, it's 560.
So you're suspending that little material on the edge and there's no finish to it, so the installer, when he kind of whoops, this is America, you know, when he whoops and he cracks it or chips it, now what? We love it. It has that sort of certain je ne sais quoi.
Right.
Right, okay.
We've done these, we've done this a lot. We have our own labor, so we control that very strictly. And
Okay.
Good.
we put it on the side of Bond Street, so, and a couple other buildings, one on Warren Street, and it's worked. It is fragile, no doubt. But, I mean, feel it. It's fragile, but not
Brittle.
insanely
No,
brittle.
I,
You know what I mean? It's like,
no, but that's.
Okay, further,
so it's an install, it's definitely an install
Oops,
concern.
my hammer, oops. my
Further questions?
screwdriver, oops.
Anyone? Okay, we'll go. Done? Joan, discussion, please.
I can support this. I think that it is, that you've made some adjustments that we've asked you to make in the past, and I think it's something that is a building, it's an addition in the back, so I can support that. If you could just put it back to the old building that we had a question about. Because I think that's the big one.
Did we say anything about the height
Anywhere
of
you
the
wanna go.
penthouse?
What would you like
The
to see?
proposed.
Elevations, there's a history of the
Do you
elevation.
have a?
Where's the proposed,
A color
version of
drawing
the
of it, I
elevation?
think?
This is, I'm sorry, this is the proposed elevation. This is a blow-up of the proposed elevation.
I can support this because the thing that everybody has been making a big deal about was this, the rooftop, the exposure between the railing and then the bulkhead behind. But yet, when I look at that drawing, number 10, it just looks like rooftop accretions in the back, you know, like mechanical and things like that. So I can accept it that way. I think that it's
yeah.
reasonable. I'd like to hear other people's
Okay.
opinion about it, but there's stuff in the background behind it as well. So it's not like it's standing out by itself against the sky.
Fred?
My sentiments exactly. I think, I mean, we're talking about minimal versus very minimal versus invisible. To me, as you all know, seeing a rooftop addition is not such a bad thing at all, as long as it doesn't challenge the, or architecturally challenge, let's say, the primary facade, the historic facade. And I think this in no way does that, so I'm fine with it.
Michael Devonshire?
I agree with both the approach on the historic building and on the new building.
I think actually, because it isn't the bulkhead, it's the penthouse that's visible. So I actually think it could handle, and it's only because this is a 74-711, and that's kind of my philosophy about that. In that situation, you really need to keep the visibility of the additions very minimal, and I think it could handle being pushed back some. I'm not sure what the result would be without seeing it.
Okay, Diana?
I think that the visibility against this very tall building in back of it is not really an issue for me. I respect Marjorie's comment about 74, 711, but I could approve this.
Okay, Roberta?
I would like to see it pushed back.
Okay, I think it's fine as submitted, and I'll close the hearing, please. Motion second. Joan, please.
In the manner of 325 to 329 West Broadway, also known as 23 to 25 Worcester Street, Soho Cast Iron Historic District, an early 19th century building altered in 1894, an early 19th century building altered circa 1920 to 30, a warehouse built circa 1960, and a garage built in 1968. Excuse me. Application is to amend C of O 074623 and 144750, excuse me, for the construction of a new building at 325 to 329 West Broadway, and the construction of rooftop and rear yard additions at 23 to 25 Worcester Street. Noting that the scale, style, details, and materials of the buildings facing Worcester Street are among the features which contribute to the special architectural and historic character of the Soho Cast Iron Historic District, and that all the buildings have been connected at the rear, resulting in the rear yards being eliminated. I recommend approval, finding that the modifications to the massing and placement of the setback penthouse and bulkhead of the new building will be well integrated into the design of the building, and when seen from public thoroughfares from the north and east will only be subtle variations set back from the street facades, that the form and silhouette of the southern side of the new building when seen from public thoroughfare from the south will only be seen from limited vantage points and will be in keeping with the character of varied profiles of utilitarian accretions at the roofs and secondary facades which are typically seen from such oblique incidental views, that the window openings at the penthouse and lot line facades will be typical in placement, uniform, and simple in design, remaining consistent with window openings at such facades of buildings throughout the district, that the narrow vertical windows and adjoining panels slightly recessed and matching the facades in terms of material will recall the character and appearance of blind windows, a typical feature at secondary facades of industrial buildings, that removing the entrance steps and installing taller entrance infill at the southernmost bay of 23 Worcester Street and converting the northernmost bay from the second entrance to a window will not eliminate any significant architectural features or detract from the facade composition and will be consistent with typical configuration of bays and infill at buildings of this type, style, and age, that the proposed entrance infill at 23 Worcester Street will facilitate barrier-free access and will be well scaled to the entrance and in keeping with historic entrances at buildings of this type, style, and age in terms of design, that the proposed steel windows at 23 Worcester Street will match the historic windows in terms of material and closely replicate the profiles and details of the historic windows, and that the proposed black painted grills and louvers at the basement level window openings of 25 Worcester Street will be consistent with the industrial character of this building and will not call undue attention to themselves.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Two opposed. That's approved. Thank you.